It's Mercy and Teresa here on our Rebel Minds podcast. And today we're tackling this whole idea. I just learned this term, Teresa, duvet days, where you do nothing. You cocoon, you don't make any appointments, you don't answer any emails, text, nothing. In fact, just get under that duvet and do whatever you want to do, but you can't leave the bed. My first coach told me when I had struggled with this about doing nothing after I burned out. She said, I'm up to a challenge. And I said, yeah, okay. She said, get on that couch and don't get off for a whole week. You can only eat and go to the bathroom.
Well, so my first reaction to this is A, isn't that what weekends are for? And B, I'm Gen X
Mm-hmm.
and we are of the generation where you work sick. You
Yes.
show up unless you're bleeding out, you
Mm-hmm.
show up and you work and you do your duty. And so those messages initially hit me right off the bat as you say this, right?
Yes.
Because I've been through decades of life. Many times I wish I could have stayed in bed. I couldn't,
No, I
just
know.
couldn't. So this is kind of a cool, interesting topic.
Yes, and it's coming about because the bulk of the population, the boomers are still working, but the bulk, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they are the highest percentage of people who are experiencing a mental health stress. I mean, it's on the spectrum, but there was a recent study, I think it was in The Guardian, and it's incredible because they're the young people. And one of the things that I think I'm experiencing when I coach people is this is still an issue no matter what generation you are. And we have lots of questions about who are we when we're doing nothing?
You know, when I was working full time and in sales, sales is a very grueling field, right? If you're not talking to somebody, you're not making money. And I remember every single day I would go home for lunch and I would take a nap. I would take my lunch hour and I would nap because I could not make it through the day otherwise. And
Mm.
so what you're proposing is a much grander design than that, but it still speaks to we all need to rest. So
Yes.
what is keeping them from resting?
Well, part of what you said is it's been drilled into us that it's almost like it's the what is it, the pioneer ethics, like you should be independent, pull your hard work, idle hands are the devil's work, all of that nonsense, and it gets drilled into us. And the interesting thing is we don't need to work that hard anymore because it's like supposedly back in the day when the washing machine came and the vacuum cleaner came, and it was always supposed to make traditionally the housewife or mother be more productive. Well, all it did was make her work harder because now she had all this time. That's going on a little bit here now because we have so many tools, apps, AI that can actually shrink your workload. So now what? You're okay, you have some time. Isn't that nice? And then you're like, no, my worth is tied to my output.
Yes. 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 And so, over the last 5 years after I left corporate America, and well, its glory, well, and especially in the last couple of years, because I had some health issues that I'm recovering from, my workday includes sitting out on my deck and letting my thoughts just flow in a direction
Mhm.
that is productive for me, right?
Mm.
So, and that's hard for me because I think get back in there, get behind your computer. You haven't spent your 8 hours behind your computer. But my best stuff comes to me first thing in the morning or when I'm sitting on my deck and when I'm in the shower. That is technically work time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Even if it wakes you up in the middle of the night, we should be able to log it in. I spent 20 minutes in the middle of the night thinking of this idea. So I think it's permission. One of the themes in coaching is we do not give ourselves permission. We don't give ourselves permission to set boundaries, to be treated the way we want to be treated. We don't give ourselves permission to get out from under the should because it really isn't what we want to do. So permission is what is the struggle.
I
So
think permission, but it's also guilt. Like, let me
yes,
give myself permission. When I was working in the world and I woke up and I didn't feel good, I really had to talk myself into a sick day,
yeah,
right? Because
right,
I didn't feel good. Am I sick enough to stay home?
yeah.
Right? And that's ridiculous.
It's funny because when I was a kid, I'd rather be in school than be home because it
Me
wasn't
too.
always that great place to be. And so I learned to go to school sick.
Yeah.
And I learned to go to school and work sick. So part of it is the permission. And you're right. Guilt, what does guilt say? Guilt says I should be doing something else. I should be doing something else. And underneath the should is I'm not worthy if I'm not doing.
Yes.
We are a doing culture. But there was something else I read that I liked. What does it say about how we value our inner life?
Yes.
Because who you are is when you're doing nothing. That's who you are,
Yes.
not your being rather than doing.
Yes. And
So
when you
maybe,
do something, it should feel good. When
yeah,
did we lose that? Right?
yeah,
We
yeah,
go in and we sit behind the desk and we do all the crap that we don't want to do because that's what you're supposed to do in this job. But what
yeah.
happened to, remember when you were a kid and it was the first
Mm,
day of summer and your bike
mm.
was clear in the back of the garage? You fought through everything to get that bike out and get on the road with your friends because it was
Yeah,
fun. You worked
yeah,
hard to
yeah,
get out and play. But you didn't
yeah.
even think about that. But we've replaced that with, you know what? If you want to play, you've got to do all this work first.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a reward versus an integral part of your life. Like you should
Yes.
be able to call in well, I'm feeling so great. I'm not going to waste it on a day at work. But
Right.
it is, I think, it's thinking about your inner life. Why, the other thing underneath this is why do people have trouble just being? Like, they don't want their thoughts, they don't want some information to percolate up. Um, I think part of it is an escape from something that's going on in your head or your mental chit chat in your head. So many people say I'm uncomfortable if I'm, not doing anything.
Yeah. You know what? And I think that's the bigger picture here.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because, yes, okay, I can give myself permission to stay in bed all day
Hmm.
and I can try not to feel guilty about it. But what happens in my head, that might be the worst thing yet.
Yes.
I don't know. I love sitting and doing nothing because there's amazing things going on in here, but I had to get there, right?
Mm,
I had to get there. So it's almost like an acquired taste, right?
yes.
Maybe don't take the whole weekend and don't get out of bed,
Mhm.
but give yourself
Yeah.
permission to nap
Yeah.
or give
Or
yourself
just,
permission to go in late. Like
yeah.
I just am dragging today. I'm going to be a couple of hours late.
Hmm.
Right? But I promise I'll be thinking about work.
Yeah.
And
Well, we're still in this culture where you're being measured by your time in your seat.
right.
Like if you have four projects and you get them done in a half hour, okay? You can't say, "Well, I did what I did. I'm going home." Few places work like that. I know some places do, but not very many.
So how do we
So,
reconcile that, Mercy? How do we reconcile what we know is good for us and nurturing for us and for our well-being with
mhm,
our responsibility in a job?
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Well,
How do we reconcile
things
that?
have to things have to change, but on a more
But before they do, like we need mental
cultural.
health today. Today,
Well,
right? How do we say to a Gen Z or a millennial,
yeah.
call tomorrow, tell them you're not coming in and Don't turn on anything electronic. You can eat
Mhm.
whatever you want. You can go outside as much as you
Mhm.
want. You can sleep with them, but just do that because you have time coming to you,
Yep.
right? They all have vacation time, sick time,
They
PTO.
even have, like my daughter, she's a millennial. She has unlimited time off. Now, theoretically, the person is a responsible person and takes it as needed. But, I watched her, start to work like 12 hours a day, bothering her because she has a 2-year-old. And I finally, she's like, there must be a reason she was hunting, looking for coaching. I'm like, no, wait a minute. There's only so many hours in a day. First, can you wrap your head around that? You can't manufacture time. You cannot manufacture. And you don't, by the way, you don't make time, you find time. So she's been working with a coach, and everything I told her, it came
Of
from me.
course,
So
you're the
it's
mother.
yeah, I'm the mother. What
No.
do I know? A mother who burned out and learned this lesson hard. But I think you're right. We have to begin to be honest with ourselves
Yeah.
and to stand up for ourselves,
Yeah.
because that's what's going to change each individual. And I think it's recognized that it's costing companies. Like I just coached a guy who has a new hire, and then no, the new hire he's like set with already. But anyway, he has one of his team works remote. Everybody else is in the office, and he's worried about losing him because he seems disconnected to them. And so here he is worrying about losing a good employee because he can't gauge what this person needs all the time. So if you don't negotiate, you got to negotiate. I need this, I need that. If your value is high, and that's the other thing, sit down and figure out your value.
Yes.
Because if you don't know what you're worth, you're never going to be getting what you're worth.
Exactly. That's a great quote. Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
it's true.
And
It's
nobody's going
true.
to say, you know what, Teresa, you have given us your value today. You have served us well. Thank you. Go home. No,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no,
No, no. And your value isn't based on your energy. Okay. It's like
no.
some days, I give it my 100%. Well, if I only have 80% of energy, then that's my 100%.
Exactly.
So you can't base your value. It's not fluctuating. It is what it is. It's a culmination of your experience, of your education, of your motivation, and what you feel is important in life.
Well,
So
and let's talk about quantity versus quality.
yes.
Right?
Mhm.
I am a fast thinker and a fast worker, and I can give you high quality stuff in a very short period of time. Other people like to take their time and spread it out,
Mhm.
right? So if it takes me 2 hours and it takes you 8 hours to do the same thing, if you keep me there for 6 more hours, I'm not going to feel good about that.
No.
Right. And the quality of my work is going to go down because
Yeah.
now I'm not feeling appreciated for my speed and intellect.
Oh, and if you are that good, you know what they're going to do? They'll give you more work.
They'll promote you and give you more work.
Yeah. Yeah, now you're like, okay, I better slow down. Like, I
Yes,
think when I was looking up this topic, I think there's a thing called um, bare minimum Mondays. All right, and it's a productivity rebellion. So we have to talk about that at the end of this. So people will either subtly as a slow movement or in a passive way, they will try to take care of themselves. So what our question of this podcast is, what would it look like to take a mental break? No apologies, no excuses, no explanations, and just do it because, not because you earned it, but because you need it.
and it's your right, right? We were built to rest. you know, and if the listeners are our age, they get it.
Mm,
We've burnt out. Maybe not
yeah.
all the way, but we have been to the level of burnout because we pushed ourselves so hard.
Yeah.
And now we're asking the younger generation who have more energy and more tools and better tech savvy to push
Mhm.
themselves even harder. Again, introducing the vacuum into we have AI. You and I should be able to work 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Now,
AI handle all of the rest. No, that just means it frees up more time for what?
more work. Yeah, because there's
Yes.
never there at the pace of change is unrelenting, and that means work is never like there's no okay, we finished. You're working multiple things at a time. There's always some deadline or urgency, and if you're dealing with people, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, and we take it home with us, right?
Yeah,
I told my son just yesterday, I said, I had to learn to stop working when I stop working. I keep creating 24/7 in my head.
yeah,
And by the time I sit down and do it, I'm exhausted.
yeah,
Just stop. And I think maybe that's the whole point of, Netflix and chill. Like
yeah.
connect the brain from work and connect it somewhere else. But what
Yes.
you're saying is we're going to disconnect the brain from everything and let it settle down, let it calm
Yeah,
down.
yeah. And whatever you're afraid of knowing in the silence, know that it won't kill you
Well, and it won't go away just because you're not
and it's
looking at
not going
it.
to go away. Nope. And the body never lies. So you might think you're holding this down, but your body will rebel at some point.
Well, and I always say if you want to know how you're doing in creating your life, look around.
Yeah.
If it's all good, you're doing a good job. If it's not, something needs to change.
Yeah. Right. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
And you can change it just by looking at it differently. If
Mhm.
you think to yourself, I am going to take a day off every month, that's for me, and I'm going to tell
Mhm.
my boss, then everything changes.
It does. Everything changes. Well, I think on that note, we'll sum it up by again, what it'd be like, you guys, if you just did nothing, just observe yourself. What chatter happens? I should be doing this. There's something wrong with me. I'm not worthy. Whatever. Just package all those things up, put them in a box, and throw them out the window because they're not true.
It's
All right.
absolutely true.
Until next time, we're the
All right.
Rebel Minds. Take care.
Bye.